welcome everyone to this meeting, March 30, 2025 meeting of Heartland, Open Heartland Law of One Discussion Group. Very special day today. We welcome Jim McCarty, the original scribe of the original Law of One channeling group, master channeler, master gardener, a great host who still has people over to his house every other Saturday for channelings, and um, just a wonderful guy. And we're so glad you could share your wisdom with us on the Law of One. Our chosen theme for this discussion is looking ahead to Earth changes and coping with Earth changes in 2025. Um, if they don't all questions do not all have to be on that topic. If you can stay to that or to questions about raw material or Law of One, that would be optimal. You can talk to us about the weather later or something like that. Jim, oh, you know what? Maybe we should start. We start every meeting with an intention, an invocation, and I would like to ask West to kind of set the tone for our meeting and put things in perspective
That
for
would
us. So please go ahead.
be exclamation, little d, big M,
Charity, I'm going to mute
big
you.
E.
Okay. Let's just take a moment to find ourselves in this now. Find your heart, however you do. And I invite us to share our gratitude for this material, for the raw contact, so meaningful to all of our lives. Share our gratitude to those of Ra. Share our gratitude with our friends at LL Research. And thank you especially to Jim McCarty for being here. Thank you for being such a role model to so many of us on this path. And I invite us to feel one another gathered together in circle. And may our time together be harmonious and uplifting, such that the benefit can spill over to the rest of the Earth Collective. And finally, let's share our gratitude with the one infinite creator. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Amen. For sure. So today is a auspicious day, not only because of this eclipse we just had, but it's important day coming up for Jim. There's an anniversary, and I invite Jim to start by telling us about this day and what it means to him, and anything he wants to say about it.
Well, I have a little piece here that I picked out a couple areas from the eulogy that I gave for Carla. It was April 17th, 2015. She passed away on April 1st, but she wanted to have 3 weeks or so pass so people from around the country could make it to her funeral. So if it's okay with you, it's about 2 pages long. I'd like to share it with you because it's pretty amazing. Carl Elizabeth Ruckert McCarty was born on July 16, 1943, in Lake Forest, Illinois. Carla was a child prodigy. At the age of 3, she could read the newspaper, speak French, and read music. She would have started singing in the church choir then, but she wasn't strong enough to hold the hymnal all the way through the processional until the next year when she was 4 years old. She was also the friendliest little girl her mother had ever seen. When they took the bus to go downtown and shop, little Carla would wander up and down the aisle speaking to everyone who was on the bus. She did not know a stranger. Her mother was mortified. Carla's mother was a teacher and enjoyed working with her very intelligent child before school teachers got their hands upon her mind. When Carla was 5 years old, she wanted to explore the world through her child's eyes. So she asked Carla, "Who are you?" and asked her to write down her thoughts. So Carla, as a 5-year-old, sat down and with her childish printing, wrote down that she was a girl and a daughter, that she was a member of society, a citizen of the world, and she was a child of the Creator. When she graduated from McDuffie High School for girls in Springfield, Massachusetts, her test scores were so high that she was offered scholarships from all the Ivy League schools and the Seven Sisters School as well. But she went to Wellesley to see the school. She couldn't believe how nasty and preppy the parties were there and used to recruit prize students. So she returned home to attend the University of Louisville, much to the chagrin of her mom and dad. And because of her high test scores, she was admitted to the university as a junior under a program that was used only for a couple of years. Her great love in college was philosophy. She was a natural-born philosopher. So one of the first courses she took was a graduate-level course in ethics. After about 2 weeks of class lectures on various philosophers, the professor gave the first assignment. He said that they all had talked about a number of philosophies in the first 2 weeks, but now he wanted them to write an original philosophy on the topic of their choice. He didn't want to hear any other philosopher quoted back to him. He wanted their original work. So Carla went home, got out her 8.5 by 11-inch yellow legal pad and her pencil, and wrote on the topic of free will. She filled the front of the sheet, turned it over, and wrote halfway down the backside. When she went back to class the next week to hand in the paper, she was somewhat shaken when she saw that her classmates, graduate students all, were handing in 20, 30, and 40-page typewritten papers. So she thought maybe she had made an error. When the students came back to class the next week, the professor walked around the room and handed each student his or her paper and gave out the grade at the time, D, F, C, D, etc., until all the papers were handed back, except Carla didn't get her paper back. Then he said, "I have given 1A on this assignment, and I'm going to read you the paper." Then he proceeded to read her page and a half on the topic of free will. Then he said, "Now that is original philosophy. That is what I was looking for." Carla had a gift that is sometimes called mediumship or channeling. She could contact intelligent sources of love and inspiration that some people call aliens, others angels. Carla's real gift, though, was the discernment of spirits. Whenever we meditated and an unseen spirit wished to speak through her, she would always challenge that spirit in the name of Jesus Christ, her Lord and Savior. If the unseen spirit could not say Jesus is Lord, Carla would not allow the entity to speak through her. Throughout her life as a Christian mystic who had this ability to discern spirits, she always asked her priest to look at her work and let her know if he thought it was acceptable. The first priest she asked this question of was Bishop Marmion. He realized that she was serving people who did not go to church. So he said to her, "Your work is based on giving and receiving love, whether it's done in church or not. You are Christ to these people. You are their contact with his love. Treat them as sheep of his flock." Eventually, Don Elkins, Carla, and I were involved in what came to be called the Law of One, or the Raw Contact. We completed 106 sessions of this channel contact, which is the work for which Carla is best known around the world. After Don Elkins died in 1984, Carla and I continued the work of LL Research with weekly Sunday meditations, further channeling, speaking engagements around the country. And Carla also offered herself as a counselor to those who had questions about their life's path and how they might be aided by the information that we had been privileged to make available. All totaled, Carla either authored or channeled over a dozen books during her life, counseled hundreds of seekers of truth, spoke to thousands of people at spiritual gatherings, and in everything that she did, she happily and naturally shared her love of life and her love of people. In 1987, she and I were married in the Calvary Episcopal Church. We were married for 28 years and together for 35. Her last 5 years were spent mostly in a hospital bed at home, attempting to recover from back surgery. Though she experienced a great deal of pain and limitation, she never complained even one time about her situation. She faced all of her life with love and a happy heart that she freely shared with all who came her way. She saw all people as souls, no matter the outer behavior, full of love in their true selves. And she loved them without reservation, without limit, and with all her being. For love was the greatest quality that she could channel through her wide open heart. She was truly the love of my life, and I think about her every day.
Oh, it's very beautiful. Very beautiful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for
That,
listening.
that really puts it in perspective. She was extraordinary.
Do you still have the paper that she wrote on free will?
I wish I did. That was a long time ago, way before I met her. I imagine it bit the dust a long time ago.
It would just be really interesting to.
Oh, it would, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
I might, if I take the liberty of asking the first question, I might ask about Carla. The last time I was at a channeling, it wasn't the last channeling, it was the one before, where we were talking about someone that we know who speaks to her late husband because she's a medium. She has a connection, an ongoing connection with her husband. I'm curious if you ever have such a connection with Carla.
Oh, yeah. I have had a lot of connections. In the year after she passed into larger life, I had had 100 dreams with her in them. Some had Don Elkins, and many had messages for me that were even more inspiring than the Law of One and the Raw Contact. She introduced me to angelic presences, and to this day, occasionally I get a little message from her when I'm wondering what I should do, and I've written some of those down in my room, and I keep them there as a little packet of love.
Oh, marvelous! I'm so glad that you're. She was her personality was so strong it couldn't be contained in one lifetime.
Well, actually, it's funny you should mention that. Since she was such a child prodigy, her mom and dad felt that the way to enhance her great intelligence was not to give her compliments, but to give her positive criticism. And so by the time she got to be 12 years old, she had gotten so much criticism for what she was doing, she didn't think she could be of service, and she prayed to die. Mm-hmm. So 6 months later, her kidneys failed. Mm-hmm. And during that time, she was out of her body in a near-death experience. And she was going to see, she could see over the hill. There was a temple where her family, her spiritual family was. But a voice came out of the blue and said, "This is not your time to go. And you do have work that you can do to be of service. Now, you've chosen too much to do in one lifetime. So maybe if you want to go back and have 2 lifetimes, you could spread it out so it's not so hard." And she said, "I'm not going through another childhood. I'll go back now." So she woke up and there was this doctors and nurses making a circle around her head, trying to revive her because she's been gone for over 2 minutes.
Wow. Wow. I didn't know that she had a near-death experience. That's interesting.
Yeah. And I bet they gave her.
It told her that we don't die. Our bodies die. We do not die.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Very good. So I have plenty of questions, but I'm not going to ask anymore for now. I would open the floor unless you have anything, Wes, you want to say. Yeah, let's please mute ourselves when we're not talking, and please use the raise hand feature, and we'll try and keep track of you who raised their hand first. For some reason, I'm not. See.
Yeah, so I'll help keep track and keep our stack. And before we get into the rest of the questions, I just want to offer gratitude, so much gratitude for you, Jim, for sharing that moving piece about Carla and sharing your love of her with us. It's really touching for me.
My pleasure to do so.
Thank you. So yeah, feel free to use the raise hand function. If for some reason it's not working, you can drop a message in the chat and I will make note that you want to get on stack. And we'll start with Evan.
Thank you, Wes, and thank you, Peggy and Greg, and just everyone who does service to LL Research, and just everyone that's a part of this. Thank you, Jim. I'm going to get to a question about kind of as the future and money, but I just want to say, like I have been going back and listening to all of the podcasts that you've done for the last 10 years. And it's just so, I think sometimes we work in this life and it's like, okay, where does this go? And like today, I was listening to something you were doing in, 2017 or something, and just feeling so much love from it. So just want to say thank you for that. And my question is around, as we look into, next few years, I'm so grateful to be on this path, but I feel like everything would fit except for like money. I don't want to earn money. I don't care about it. And it's really hard to be in a world where that is part of this. And so I guess my question for you is, you've talked about this in the past, but has your idea about money shifted or changed over the years? And how would you think of, as we walk this spiritual path, of finding ways to accept that and use that energy in our lives?
Well, I think in our third density experience that we have so many things that aren't spiritually oriented because we have that veil of forgetting that separates our conscious mind from our subconscious mind. So we have to deal with catalyst every day, one thing and another. And one of those things, as you say, is money, how to support ourselves and keep ourselves physically fit, fed, a home for our friends, for our family, for ourselves. And I think that is the great challenge. But challenges, I think, are the way that we grow. And if we can keep the spiritual path first and foremost in our minds as we try to do the mundane things like earn money, then I think that we're likely to have more success in being able to support ourselves, because I think we all came here for that reason, to be spiritual entities, to share the love and the light created with each other. But we have to grow in order to do that. And sometimes growth has to come from painful situations where we expand our nature of our perception of ourselves, the world around us, and how we're going to meet the challenges. So that's just the third density. It's the food for growth. And if we didn't have to do all of that, it would be too easy. We need to have challenges to expand the nature of our reality and our perceptions of ourselves.
That's good.
Lovely. Thank you. Food for growth. I love that.
Thank you for the question, Evan. Did you want to say something?
Has anybody ever asked if they have money or anything like that? Or cool. It's crazy,
No,
right?
I don't think anybody's ever asked that question. I think the kind of money they would have would be coming from their hearts, and spend it freely. And we would all feel that if we asked for that.
Very good.
Wow. Okay, let's move to David.
He's in his car, so we got to give him a moment.
Can you hear? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for that. I guess not sure to whom the question would be, but that was very moving and beautiful, Jim. I was trying not to tear up like doing my car wash because it was what's happening. But that being said, I guess, and from the heart, I would just have to say it's been a privilege to have read the material at a time when things were happening that were, for lack of a better word, odd. And this was the only thing that over the years has made sense to me. So thank you so much for what you and your group has done. I guess my question is, having come from a background that is very steeped in Catholicism with a measure of dogmatism that builds a lot of heartfelt and genuine heart emotions, but there's a level of where I come from in South America, Colombia, that is so deeply entrenched in a certain belief system that even if I could talk about things like, say, harvest or things of coming changes that is very much aligned with understandings of their version of saying things, and you want to share this to people that you love, no one else, like this is only people that mean something to you, it's kind of a hard sell to kind of explain, hey, read this book from the 80s, it's interesting, it can be something daunting, even if you don't want, because I've learned a long time ago to just let people come to it in their own path. It's been much more liberating that way. It's going to resonate with whom it resonates. But with that being said, I was just curious, Jim, since you lived it, as this was happening like in real time in the 80s, and maybe people you knew even tangentially, how would you even like bridge that gap where, hey, this is what's happening? It's kind of odd, but how even I guess personally, I'm only speaking from the experience of me and my mother, who even if I translate this for her in Spanish, or even if she read it with an open mind, and she won't, it's hard for me. It makes me sad that there's so much beauty and knowledge and even just humor and mirth in what the contact brought about. But it's going to be something to some people that their belief system is so deeply entrenched in something that it just may or may not resonate. And that's kind of okay. I've learned to accept that. But in your own experience, I guess I'm just curious to know what things you kind of learned from just trying to share this with people, that their own dogma, whether it be Catholicism or other aspects, that it just wouldn't like bridge, or it wouldn't be normal for them to just try to take up this material is, I guess, my question.
Well, I think over the years, I've used various ways of trying to interpret what the raw contact was about with various people, my neighbors, or somebody I would meet on the street that we would have a conversation. And most of the time, I would simply say, well, I think there are various levels of meaning that go with our lives and the way that we live our lives. The various religions of the world have this in their more mystical aspect. Most religions have just what you said, the dogma. And Carla didn't do dogma. She just concentrated on the red print, what Jesus said. So I've tried to translate that to my neighbors and friends in a way that lets them know that there is more to all religions and all belief systems than we know. We can't know it all. And I think that sometimes letting people know they have their own individual path is helpful, that they can interpret religions or philosophies in a way that has meaning for them, because we're all equal in that we have this path to travel. And occasionally, I just take a leap into faith, like the fool. And I did this the other day when I was talking to a woman who works with the Red Cross here in Louisville. I had just made a donation to them, and she asked me about my group and what we did. And I knew she was going to ask me that. And I thought beforehand, well, I'll just tell her it's meditation that can get us in touch with that still small voice within, which, of course, that is true. But then I just went ahead and I said, well, we do channeling here, extraterrestrial sources, and they give us inspired information that is more than we know here on Earth. And they're here to help us. And this is not the only level of existence. There are many more above us in higher densities. And she said, that's very interesting. Can you tell me more? So I just kept on with what we do. It did in the raw contact, what we continue to do on the second and fourth Saturday each week. And she said, well, thank you so much for letting me know that. That gives me a lot to think about. So I just went on intuition. Sometimes, though, most of the time in the past, I've gone on intellect and analysis and have tried to step it down a bit so that they wouldn't, a person I'm talking to wouldn't think that I was crazy. So I think you have to use your intuition.
Yeah. Sometimes I think there's kind of, that's the beauty of the path itself, that and I've been privileged to be in experiences where I'm in settings where people are much more open-minded, and I feel like when you're fresh off the press of having steeped in this for lack of a better word, information or sources, for example, you want to like talk about it to a burning fever pitch. But it's been over 15 years of the privilege of really seeping into the material and letting it become something that's lived rather than understood. Because for me, it's very easy to be selfish. My default setting is very self-centered, and that being said, it's still not, it's still a fact, but it's kind of gifted me the opportunity to see things differently, and I think that's a gift for everyone. And I guess the faith part, I got to learn to have more of that in my own way. Thank you so much, and it's been a privilege. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for your question.
Thank you, David. Ishan.
Hello, Jim. It's been nice to see you after so long. How
Oh,
are you
Sean, it's
doing?
been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah, love to see you again. I've been recently, working with the shadow work, and I've just like found a like new profound understanding of the law of one. So like as like we guys, know law of one as like everything, every emotion, every event, every being, everything is just, one. It is not separate. There is no separation. There is no distortion. There is only love, light, life, love, light, love. There is only unity. So there has not been, any kind of like concretely practical, implementation for the law of one. We have the certain concepts of energy ray centers. We have the certain concepts of various different things like, disciplines of personality, disciplines of mind, body, spirit complex. I only like to work with the intransient stuff, totally spiritual stuff. So I've been working with the shadow work. And what I have found is that working with the shadow work is like, we integrate whatever is separate from us. And working with the shadow work, I have found a new meaning in the law of one. And it has been so profound that there is like everything is, within us, like mind contains all things. And what sometimes we have, certain separations that, I lack this thing. Yeah, I don't want this thing. And in these, identifications, we kind of push things away. We kind of, feel the lack of certain things. And this is what creates this separation and distortions. And this is what is the cause of suffering. And what law of one states that everything is one, everything is unity. And our work then, in this third density, what I believe in my for my present perception is to integrate all of these separations, all of these distortions, to feel that, to experience that there is no separation. It all is one. And that is the work of integration. That is the practical work, that we have to do and that we ought to do. And right now we were discussing this, concepts, that when that Ivan put up like this money has been, is like perceived as something separate. When it is being perceived as separate, there is this kind of, distortion within ourselves. And when we know that, mind contains all things and we are the creator, I am the creator, I can create anything, mind contains all things. It is just a matter of getting their thing out and, like letting that thing out from the separation to my experience of oneness and then becoming the creator. It all like becomes a very unified understanding, very unified perception of reality, and very integrated way of being. And I like kind of like make something so that others can also like work with the law of one through these things because there is in I have like experienced like certain communities and there has been a lot of like transient work, like working on transient things like ufology and everything. Like it's fine, but like I really love that that our cultural transformation, our social memory will like graduate only when we will work on these intransient spiritual principles. And I feel like a deep calling as a mission to like help everyone ascend to help the harvest. I wanted to share that to you.
Okay, well, that's beautiful. Did you have a question?
Oh no, I just wanted to share that to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, thank you for sharing. It's a beautiful way of looking at the law of one. I think you've got it.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you,
Well,
Isha.
thank you.
Sonia.
Thank you. Hello, Jim. I always wanted to say this to you, but I never got an opportunity to talk to you. So I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to you, to Carla, to Dawn, and Ra for bringing Law of One in our lives. It's been 3 years since I got introduced to Law of One, and it has changed me so much as a seeker, as a human being. I can see the progress in me from what I was and what I am today. So thank you so much. And on behalf of our entire Law of One India group, I would like to say thank you and we love you.
Well, thank you. I love you too.
So I have two questions actually. The first question, Ishan already spoke about it, but we as a group have been implementing the methods Ra has given about, doing shadow work and inner work, like disciplines of personality, disciplines of mind, body, spirit. And I can see changes in many people when we do the shadow work together as a group. And there has been so much of synchronicity around the entire shadow work coming from different directions. And there are so many groups also are doing the shadow work. So my first question to you is, what is your take on shadow work? And do you suggest anything that would help us, to integrate our different aspects of ourselves to, rise above in the upward spiraling energies. Anything that you would like to share with us?
Okay, well, that is a good question. I've been thinking about that myself lately. In a number of places in the Quo channelings, the dark side of ourself is mentioned. And it's mentioned that we all have this dark side. And usually the dark side comes from some experiences that we've had as children, where we were told that something we were doing was not right or something was wrong with us. And that part of ourself then that was being criticized kind of recedes and goes into a hidden place so that it does not have to take that type of criticism again. And over the years, it builds so that that darker side can come out at various times in ways that you're not expecting, and most likely in a thought. And you wonder, where did that thought come from? That's not what I really feel. So I think that one way we can deal with that is to perhaps in our meditations see that dark side, invite the dark side to come and be with us and to become part of us, because that dark side has a certain kind of strength that it had to develop in order to survive the criticism that it got when we were children. And it has that to offer us on our spiritual journeys, so that if we can help it to become part of us, then we have a greater strength to continue pursuing the light that is all around us and coming through us from the Creator and enhance our spiritual journey. So I think it's a process of unification with that dark side, because like has been said before, everything is the Creator, and that dark side is certainly part of the Creator too. But it can help us find the light if it's part of us, and we invite it to do so in our meditations.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
I have another question. I'm sure you must be getting this question a lot, but I want to know what is the Confederation's opinion right now about the trajectory of our planet moving into the fourth density, and in relation to the population, which is still stuck in the third density. Like, where do we stand currently at this time-space nexus?
Well, during the raw contact, Ra suggested that it looked like the harvest was going to be very small. And we haven't really got any more information from those of Quo or any other Confederation sources since then to suggest that the situation is different. And I think that one of the problems is that so many of the population of planet Earth, 8 billion or more, have come from other third density planets where they failed to make the graduation. And I think that as time goes on, it gets more difficult. And they need to somehow wake up and discover that there's more to life than the consensus reality around them. And hopefully, it's spiritual groups like this all over the world that can serve as seeds and grow that greater philosophy that sees all as the Creator and that we're all here with a special plan. I think that when the veil of forgetting was incorporated many millions of years ago, in the situation where entities did not have a veil of forgetting, that they saw they were all the Creator, yet, and they knew they were supposed to be working towards the fourth density, but there was no reason to do anything other than what they were doing because they were all the Creator. No reason to move from love or fear. So by incorporating that veil of forgetting, it made the harvest or the people become more aware, more effective, because somewhere deep inside each of us is that knowledge that we are the Creator. And so the groups like this, I hope, and I believe it's very likely to occur, can increase that harvest by sharing the love and light of the Creator with all those around you in whatever way comes your way each day, to be of service, to share your love. Whether it's helping somebody get their groceries to their car, or to find a missing dog or a cat, or whatever. So I think if we set our intentions to be of service, that those ways of being of service will come to us, and that serving of another will give them a feeling of, well, maybe there's more to their life. People really do care about me. So that would be my suggestion there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Sonia. Aaron had your hand up and now it's gone. Do you still Want to be in the queue, Aaron?
Oh, sure. Yes. Thank you. Can you
Yeah.
hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for taking time to come on today. It's just an honor to meet you. And I'm new to the group too. So hello to everyone. I didn't get to talk to you guys last time. Um, can you hear me okay? I'm having a hard time hearing.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, good, good.
I'm glad you're here.
So I guess I got one weird question. So I just wondered with all the new kind of information about the pyramids that have came out about the cylinders underneath them, if anything kind of resonated with you about that during a channeling or communications, what those were, are they indeed there? Is it what your thoughts are on it?
Well, I've heard about that. Uh, a friend of mine tipped me off to that information, but I must say that I really have no idea. I'm not surprised they're discovering more things about what is related to the Great Pyramid or any of the pyramids in Egypt, because they are very large structures. And I think they do go down more, there's more underground than we are aware of. They're sort of like the tip of an iceberg in some ways. So I wouldn't be surprised at all about whatever has been found, but I can't tell you any idea that I have about what it might be.
Yeah. Well, it made me think of some theories when I guess I'm still kind of learning everything in the book, but how I heard it was when you're talking about the ones underground, not hibernating, but they're what was the term that Ra used? Harvesting, was it? And they're in harvest.
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
He was talking about the Sasquatch part, and they were
Oh,
under.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't know if that's related to the pyramids or
Yeah,
not, but there are other phenomena around the planet that are barely known by the consensus reality, and Sasquatch is one of those, or the Bigfoot, as they're sometimes called. And so I wouldn't know how to relate that, though. Sorry about that.
no, that's right. And then I have one other question. I guess, since the time you didn't get to end it, do you think there's anything that, or do you ever wonder if there's more pieces to the information that are really big that I don't know how to ask my question, I guess. So you're limited with the time that you can gather the information. I just wonder, like, what other information, if it would have went another month, would we have learned from that? Does your brain ever continue to hypothesize or theories?
Well, I think that there is probably a lot more information that we could have gotten. Don drew a circle with his finger and he said, everything that we know right now is within that circle. And everything that is outside of that circle is what we have yet to learn. So I think it's an infinite process. I hope that the information we got during the raw contact is enough for anybody on the planet to use as a portion of their spiritual journey. And when we get to the fourth density and fifth and so forth, I think we'll see more of that we can use to learn more about how to become one with the Creator and to see the Creator everywhere.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Well,
really
thank you.
has my mind spinning. I have a hard time trying to even articulate and explain the law of one to anybody, but I try. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions.
Thanks, Aaron. Okay, next we have Jonathan.
Hey, how's it going? Jim, just a quick note of gratitude. Just thanks for everything that you've done and your involvement with the Law of One and the whole team over there. I personally was able to heal myself, which was a huge catalyst, and learning about the Law of One and fasting really put me on like that trajectory of spirituality. So just really thank you in that regard. So I got two questions. My first one was when you were talking about how some of the visits you had and how some of the message you received were even more inspirational than the Law of One. And I'm thinking like, okay, what can be more inspirational than the law of one? So is there anything, I'm knowing that dreams are more personal, but so is there anything that you would be able to share that could be an inspirational message to the group that's, again, not too personal?
If you relax your mind completely and let go of all fear, the secrets of the law of one will be invested in you. That was one message that I got from Carla.
Mm, okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's where I'm at too, Wes. And then my second question is, even there was a question about money, and one of the things that I've been doing personally on my path is building a conscious-based, spiritual-based business called Rise, Consciousness Rising, and I do look at that even as we interview all the practitioners because we found like a lot of people have been scammed. And one of our interview questions is, have you read the Law of One? So it's been interesting to see a lot of different people that we've been meeting that have led the law, who've read the Law of One. But as I'm like building this kind of spiritual conscious based business, I would just ask, is there any insights or anything that you can share as I'm building this and any like perspectives I can have because there haven't been a lot of like models that I can look at in regards to building like something that I think leads to and help builds towards a social memory complex. So any perspective or anything that you can share would be really helpful.
Now, did you say you're working with people who have been scammed?
Yeah, no, not so. No, so not working with people who have been scammed. One of the things that the company does is verify all the practitioners, whether it's a Reiki practitioner, whether they're in integrative medicine, whether they're
Okay.
psychic. So we pretty much vet all the practitioners since we found that there's been over 8 million people scammed out of over $1 billion just in the US alone. And when I was going through my health situation, people tried to take advantage of me during that process. That's one of the things that we do. So we have a collection of practitioners, high vibrational practitioners that are service to others, and they're not doing any silly stuff trying to get people to do spells or anything, but all service to oriented services. And we verify their credentials to make sure like they went to a certified Reiki school or something like that. So we just verify all of their certifications and so forth.
Okay, and then your question was?
Yeah, so as I'm building like a conscious kind of spiritual based business, is there any insights or anything that maybe you could share that could be helpful as I'm building this? Because there's just not a lot of like third density kind of models that I can look at for inspiration.
Okay, well, actually, I think you've done what I would suggest, and that is set your intention to be of service to others through the work that you're doing. Carla said, whatever work that we want to do in our lives on our spiritual path or in the consensus reality world, we need to set our intention to become that foundation upon which we build every step that we take on that journey. So I think you're doing a great job. Keep on doing it. Set your intention every day to do a little bit better job. Move one step along the path that you're traveling right now.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, Jonathan. And Peggy.
So I had my hand raised not to ask a question of my own, but I had one from our friend Sandra, who was asking also about the pyramids and the recent discoveries beneath the pyramids. So I think most of that was covered. She is extremely fascinated by these discoveries, these big columns and pathways and all this stuff. And it's funny because in session 55 of the Raw Contact, which is where we are, after 2.5 years, we're halfway through. We're on 55, and in 55, Don asks, there's a structure underneath the Great Pyramid. Can you tell us what the purpose of that is? And Ra says that's a resonator. It's for some sort of resonator to resonate energy or audio. So I thought that was funny that he was asking a lot in session 55. I guess the only thing that Sandra asked that I could add that you haven't been asked is she's fascinated why she has actually heard that there are whole cities underground. Do you have any idea why people would choose to live underground if there really are cities down there?
I don't know, but I have heard that there are underground cities or lost cities all over the planet. That at some point in the history of the planet, that was where people lived. And I think that some of them were in Peru, if I remember correctly. Um, but I don't know why there would be, seems like there's been plenty of room on the planet itself that you wouldn't have to go underground. I just have a hunch, this is just a hunch, that our planet is created in such a way that there are what you might say caverns or large underground areas where they could be inhabited. And maybe there were some civilizations or back, thousands of years ago or millions of years ago, there probably weren't so many people on the planet. So maybe they decided, well, let's see what we can find down here. Other than that, I have no idea why people would go and live underground.
This is another area where it happens to me over and over again, where the law of one provides you with at least a framework, if not an answer. It's a framework for some mystery that people are talking about. People are talking about what are all these things under the pyramids, but we heard long ago that they're for healing. It's for healing and ascension. It's for raising your vibration and healing. At least it gives us a framework. And this is happening now, and it's just something that has happened to me so many times before.
In that question in 55, didn't Ross say something about they wouldn't give all the information to Don that he was looking for?
It was something like that. I'd have to look at it again.
Yeah. Because
it wasn't
at the time I thought, now if they had told him there was something that he thought was there, he would have beaten the path right there, right now, to discover more about it. So
yeah. Okay, so let me, if I can ask one more, please, then we'll get to others. In session 48, there was a discussion about sexual energy transfer and how sexual energy transfer provided Carla with more energy, which helped the channeling, prolong the channeling, and helped her. I don't know, forgive me if you've been asked this question, but what did it do for you, basically? Has anybody ever asked you that? We know what it
energy
helped.
transfer.
Yes, yes.
Well, it was a very exciting thing. I mean, any sexual energy transfer, whether it's meant to be of service to the creator or to the raw contact, is a very pleasant and joyful and sometimes exciting thing to go through. And I think that's probably one of the reasons that we have so many people on the planet, because it's a lot of fun to have sexual energy transfers. But I know that when Carla and I had sexual energy transfers the night before the contact, that we were both dedicating the sexual energy transfer to the increase of her vital energy that would allow her to channel those of Ra for a longer period of time. And we discovered that sort of by accident. After session 15, we had, actually it was right before session 15, we had a sexual energy transfer, not knowing that it would do what it did. And then we discovered that the session 16 was one of the longest sessions we'd ever had. So we thought maybe there's a correlation. So we made it a part of our ritual to do that. And so Rob mentioned that it was very helpful, especially since Carla had low physical energy. She had programmed her life path to focus on the inner work, channeling, meditation, and serving the creator. So that also meant that she couldn't do the physical things that would take her mind away from that. If she became too physically active with her body, then the body would break down in some way. So that was part of her programming in her incarnation. And so whenever we had sexual energy transfers, the sessions were longer than they would have been if we had not had them. But we dedicated those to the service of the one infinite creator. And I guess I should also mention that if one of us had an orgasm, that was enough. But if both of us had an orgasm, then the sexual energy transfer was doubled.
Oh,
Wow.
have not heard that. Interesting.
That's a,
I think what I was wondering was, did this allow you to have more energy? Because I think you were meditating the whole session and visualizing light. And did this help you with your focus or not?
I can't say it did or didn't. I was, as you mentioned, sending love and light to Carla, starting with the crown chakra and going down to the red and circling back all the way through the session. And it probably did help. Yeah, I mean, very likely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
All right.
Greg. And now Neil.
Hello. Hey, Jim, it's an honor to be here and thank you for your time. So I was thinking about the words that Ra uses, mentioning the harvest, gardeners, things relating to being outside and gardening. And I was just wondering how you've kind of related that to being a conscious co-creator yourself and the healing power of gardening and relating to, getting your hands in soil and seeing your actual, garden growing and the flowers blooming. And how have you, I guess consciously gone into creating your garden and connecting with first and second density, and how have you kind of found joy and healing in your own practice?
Well, I've been a gardener for as long as I've been here in my home, probably 41 years now. And I've always looked at the ability to have a relationship with Mother Earth as being very helpful, that she has a way of sending that energy from the sun up into our feet or our hands if we're down working on the gardens, and that the very best fertilizer for any flower or vegetable was love. And so I also use the regular types of fertilizer, but I also try to share love with every plant that I grow. And I have also, right now, I'm sitting in my chair here with my shoes off because I feel a grounding even in my room here, in the living room. And so usually every time I meditate or have a public channeling meditation here, I keep my shoes off because even here, in this building made of wood and stone, I can feel Mother Earth moving up through my feet and grounding me and inspiring me. So my gardening is something that I, of course, do outside. And I've already begun basic gardening by digging up the various gardens around the yard and putting mulch on a couple of the mounds in the front yard to help the soil hold moisture better. So I'm hopeful in the near future, usually the middle of April, we can plant the annual plants. The perennials are already up and looking good. The daffodils and the crocuses and hyacinths. Yeah, we have hyacinths up now too.
And just to kind of play off of that, I was reading about Findhorn and being, conscious of on their level of kind of living every day. Would you say it's kind of not necessary, but or almost necessary that we get that connection back with the land and kind of move, out of our day to day and get back into that as a society?
I think that's one way of traveling our spiritual journey is making that connection with Mother Earth. She's supporting a lot of people on the planet now that are having various kinds of difficulties, and she can use all the support that we can give her.
And one quick question, last question. Do you have any music that you just find yourself dancing to when you're alone and pure joy? Is there a certain genre?
Uh, you must know that I dance before I go to bed every night. I usually dance a slow dance and a fast dance. And I guess my favorite of all time is Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, because it's got a slow dance to start with and then a real fast dance in the middle and it slows down. But now, really, what I like to do is dance to music I've never heard before. Because if I've danced to music I've heard before, I dance what's called, I call it improvisational. I don't repeat the same step very many times. So if I've heard the music before, I'm likely to do the same steps. And I like to do different steps. So I just go through, I have a Spotify on my cell phone and I hook it up with my receiver over here on Bluetooth. And so I can dance around the living room here and have a great time. But these days, I like different music, especially music I've never heard before. I just listen for a while, and if it's got a good beat, that's what I like. And the beat needs to change too. So,
Thank you.
thank you for your question.
Thanks, Neil. Aaron.
Hello, Jim.
Aaron, good to see you.
Treat to be with you. It's good to see you too. My question is quite simple and direct, and you may or may not have, an answer. But just on the topic of Earth changes, there's this one thing that Ra said in session 17 when Don was asking about the Earth changes. They said, this is going to occur with some inconvenience, as we have said before, due to the energies of the thought forms of your peoples, which disturb the orderly constructs of energy patterns within your Earth spirals of energy, which increases entropy and unusable heat. This will cause your planetary sphere to have some ruptures in its outer garment, while making itself appropriately magnetized for fourth density. And so my question is, did you ever kind of visualize what that might mean, or do you have a take on what Rob might have meant by Earth's outer garments and ruptures in the Earth's outer garment?
Yes, I believe that what they're talking about is the thousands of years of wars and just terrible relationships between people that have caused the heat of anger to be absorbed by the crust of Mother Earth. And with the fourth density vibrations continuing to engulf the planet, if all of those energies were released at once, the planet would probably be destroyed. So they need to be released slowly in the ways of volcanoes and hurricanes and the earthquake that just happened in Myanmar, so that unfortunately some people will die. But this slow release of the energy will allow the entire planet and most of the population to be able to move forward into the fourth density if the people that are doing that have been able to give and receive love more than 50% of the time. The planet is already in the fourth density, but we need to work together in groups like this to find that love and light for each other and for ourselves. It's not selfish to love yourself. You cannot love anyone else unless you love yourself. Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself, but you have to love yourself before you can love your neighbor. So I think this process for releasing of heat is the way that our planet has the best chance of helping everyone on it to be able to make that choice.
Right. So you think maybe kind of all of these large-scale natural disasters fall into that kind of category of the ruptures in the Earth's outer garment?
Right. It's the Mother Earth's way of helping us all to, get to where we want to go if we're willing to do the work.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Thanks, Aaron. Nanette, your hand had been raised. Do you still want to be in the queue?
No, I think the question was answered. It had to do with the sexual energy transfer. And I was questioning about if there's an imbalance, as in the raw material with the LSD and the green versus the not green energy. And that Ra said that the elevated energy will bring the other party up to that elevation. By elevation, I'm using that term relativistically, rather than I could bring you down, but there's the potential to bring everything into the heart space, even if both don't start with the heart space. And that was what I was interested in, and I believe that was answered actually in the raw material. So thank
Good
you.
to see you, Nanette.
Hi, Jim. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Nanette.
Thank you.
And I think let's go next to Charity. David, I know your hand is also raised. I just want to make sure everybody gets a chance and we can return to you. So Charity, if you're available.
Yes, I'm actually I can't really talk a whole lot. I have my answer typed out and ready to throw it into the chat, so I'm gonna do that right now. I meant my question, not my.
Okay, great. Well, we'll go to David then.
Oh, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Sorry. Super quick question, and I appreciate it. Just a quick question to Jim. Besides nice on the Led Zeppelin, cannot recommend dubstep enough for you if you want different beats. But quick question: when you were sending light and energy of love to the group as Raw was being as the Raw sessions were happening, if you have any quick word of advice, or at least hear what was your frame of meditation over what you were doing at that given time. We find ourselves in a time where have the opportunity to send light to different groups like this or other sessions. What did you do at that time? Given that even if you didn't get necessarily feedback or a physical or even other kind of response to validate what you were doing in the sessions, it was very clear how much that was helpful. What did you do? I guess if you don't mind me asking.
Well, it wasn't the normal type of meditation. I mean, I was meditating with my eyes closed, but it was a visualization as well as a meditation. And I was visualizing that light that would go into Carlos violet and then the indigo and the blue and the green and the yellow and the orange and the red centers, and then circle back around. So it was a meditation and a visualization at the same time.
If you don't, when you were visualizing, were you visualizing the pathway of the light through you towards her or directly at her, if you don't mind me asking?
Directly at her crown chakra, and then each of the chakras down to the red one. I visualized the colors and then circle back around and continue doing it for however long the session lasted.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your question.
Thanks, David. Okay, so Charity, can I just clarify with you? I see you put a question in the chat. Is that the question for Jim?
Yes. Yes.
Great. Would you like to read it, or would you like I could read it for you?
I'm so sorry. I can't talk a lot. If you could pretty please read it for me.
Got it. Yeah, thanks for clarifying. Okay, Jim. As someone who is very new, very new, less than 4 months to this information, what is the most important thing that one should be working on / learning in order to incorporate the law of one and become more in tune with these realities? Chakras / archetypes being a particular curiosity of mine that I feel drawn towards. Also, do you have any tips for meditation?
Well, I think each seeker is unique, so I don't know if I could give you an answer that would be a general answer. Although I think that probably the basic reason why we're all here is to open our hearts in the love and the light of the infinite creator and see the creator in everyone around us. If we can do that, then our heart is open. But usually there's work to do on the lower energy centers before that can be done. So I would say that to look at your daily round of activities and see what catalyst took you away from love, the acceptance of the moment. And it might have been something that was negative, which is easier to imagine, but it's something that really maybe was wildly positive. It took you way out of your normal range of love. All of those need to be balanced in a way that there is a use of the one-to-one relationships of the orange ray and a basic acceptance of ourself and of moving into the yellow ray. So we see that we are part of groups, and whatever happens in the group is something that we can also use as food for growth. Normally, there isn't too much work that's done in the red ray. That's dealing with sexuality, reproduction, and survival. So that's pretty much fixed. But if we can work with the orange and the yellow and see whatever difficulties come, then at the end of the day in our meditations, we can balance them. And the basic way that Ross suggested for balancing was to look at the situation that gave us the catalyst that was difficult or was really wildly, amazingly joyful. And then let it get bigger and bigger and bigger to make its mark more fully within our consciousness. And then for just an instant, image its opposite, maybe anger and love. And then let that love get bigger by itself so that eventually they're the same size within your conscious experience of it. And then accept yourself for having both of those ways for you to know yourself and for the creator to know itself. So this is a process that can probably take the rest of our lives because the basic formula that Ra gave was know yourself through all of those balancing, accept yourself, and become the creator. So I would say that working with your catalyst in the lower energy centers can help you do that. And eventually it can get you into your heart so that you can see the creator in everyone, no matter what they're doing. As was mentioned in that piece of the eulogy, Carla looked at people as the creator and she felt their love no matter what their behavior was on the surface. So if we can do that with ourselves, then we can move more fully and freely into the green ray, which can signify our ability to be graduated into the fourth density of love and understanding. And I think you asked about my particular technique of meditation. It's gone through variations over the years. At the time, I'm doing what I guess is called four square breathing. I inhale, and I'm always focusing on my indigo ray energy center, the third eye. And then I hold my breath. And then I exhale. Then I hold my breath. And I continue that way for however long I meditate.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you for the question, Charity. And she says, thank you so much. I really appreciate your response, and it's an honor meeting you.
Well, it's an honor to meet you too, Charity. And I love your first name.
Okay, next up, Peggy, or maybe Greg.
Yeah, it's me again, the endless question machine. Actually, when my second daughter was born, we had a midwife and her name was Charity. I'll never forget it. She did a great job. I'll never forget it. You know what? I have a follow-up on that meditation question because I've been very interested in what you do for meditation. Why are you focusing on on indigo? What does that do?
Years ago, I think I've already talked to you about TD Lingo and the Adventure Trail Survival School. When I was there, the whole purpose of being there was to be able to energize the indigo ray energy center from what he called the old root stem killer ape in the back of the brain. And the way that was done was using dreams and getting messages in the dreams about how we had been programmed in a way that was difficult for us, created that dark side we were talking about earlier, and then keeping a journal of it. And then once we got enough of message about one particular, he said there were only 2 or 3 blockages to these energies that we had as children. And so when we had an idea about what one blockage was, then we performed what he called a neurodrama. We asked somebody in the group to play the part of the parent or the teacher or the neighbor that programmed us negatively. And then, since we were children, when we were young, we didn't know we had a right to stand up for ourselves. So when it was this person we chose to play the part of the parent or whoever did what they did to program us, we would shout and cry and scream and say, no, that is not me. And that apparently helped to close that gap. He said there was a gap in the neurons within the brain that keeps most people's energy from getting into the indigo ray. It drains it away. And so when we got two or three of those closed through the neurodramas and the dreams and the journaling, then it was possible that we could move that energy into our frontal lobes. And that happened to me on July 12th, 1972. It was in the pre-conscious state, and I felt a click at my indigo or energy center. And then my brain started vibrating like it was a cyclotron, and it was an orgasm in my brain. And from that point forward, whenever I had a regular orgasm, I also had one in my brain. And so my meditations these days is to keep that activation going and to focus there, so that that basic frontal lobes experience is there in a what you might call a step down fashion.
Mm-hmm. That's right. I forgot that, but you're right. You're tickling your amygdala. That's what you're doing, and clicking forward. Yeah. Thank you.
I just ask a question real quick, Jim. So do you ever have moments when those childhood neurodramas come back to you now, or are they? No. Okay.
Huh. They're gone.
Okay.
Wow.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. Nanette.
I have two questions related to what was just said. Jim, I think I missed what you said as far as it was a technique where you did neurodramas, you're activating the cerebellum, et cetera. Was there a name to that practice? And that's my first question. And my second one was, do you find an affiliation or an association between specific physical distortion, like you might come down with illness or an injury or something congenital, a distortion or something you perceive as a distortion or as an injury? Is there a relationship between the parts or the part of the body involved and the, I guess you'd say the chakra activation or the catalytic effect? For instance, I have more injury or problems, particularly now, I don't really call them problems, but things happening on the left side of my body. And I would like to understand the metaphysiology of that, because I think that relates to the chakra energetics. And if I can get to what that distortion is, it will help me comprehend what the shadow work is needed in the clearing of the chakras. Does that make any sense?
Yeah,
I'd like to heal physically instead of taking antibiotics for one thing.
In answer to your first question, I don't think there's any name for that.
Okay, thank you.
For your second question, I think that over a period of time, our bodies give us information in the form of a disease or a difficulty or an injury that we have not noticed in our minds. Everything that happens to us in our life pattern is a catalyst, a food for growth. And if we haven't noticed the catalyst mentally and begun working with it mentally and spiritually, then the mind gives it to the body, because the body is a creature of the mind's creation. So then I think it gets a little more difficult, because we have to interpret what's going on in the body with what we didn't notice with our minds. And sometimes it's related to the location in the body that's having the problem. I'll give you an example that worked for me, or that happened to me, or that actually I created. Back when we had the raw contact, Don and Carl and I were in the living room, and Don wanted to put all three books. We had privately published the books at that time. They were an 8.5 by 11 blue, a company that I can't remember their name, in Minnesota. Anyway, he wanted to put them all together in one group. And at that time, I was keeping the books for our group. And I said, Don, that's a great idea, but we don't have the money to do that. But he insisted. He kept saying, let's do that. And I kept saying, Don, we can't do that. And I started getting angry at him. And just then, somebody knocked on the door of our living room where we had our public meditations. Now, our living room was very long, so there was a couch between me and the door that we used to separate the living room so it would be smaller and people wouldn't be so far apart. They could hear each other better. Well, in my anger, I hurdled that couch like it was, I used to hurdle when I was in high school. And then I went over to the door and answered the door. And I did not resolve that difficulty with Dawn. So when I went to bed, a common wood spider bit me on the elbow in two places. And that was intensified by our friend of negative polarity, fifth density, into a problem with my kidneys, a renal complex failure. And so in 2 weeks, I gained 20 pounds of water and I had to take Lasix for the next, I don't know how long. I'm not sure if that really helped, but at least the water did go away. So that was an example of how my anger at him on the orange ray of person to person manifested as a problem with my kidneys, which is located in the area of the orange ray energy center.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, that's a good one. Throwing a couch, that's like throwing a refrigerator or something.
No, I hurdled it. I didn't throw it. I jumped over it.
Oh.
Yeah, that would be a lot of work to. I can imagine throwing one of these couches in here, but I might be able to hurdle one.
Oh, well, it's good for anger. It helps get the body unleashing that fury without going to a person or an animal to do it, or yourself. It's a couch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. That was
Well,
really
thank you
helpful.
for your question. Good to see you, Koo.
You too. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Nanette. And
Thank
Neil.
Kind of on a topic related to the negative friend that got that spider to bite you. I was thinking about as you gain more light, you could say, you're attracting other beings to help put that out, or they want to put that out as you become more the creator, I guess. And the banishing ritual that you guys did, is that something you still do daily? And kind of the importance of ritual in your life, or something that you may do daily to keep yourself centered, I guess. Do you have anything besides the banishing ritual?
Well, no, I do the banishing ritual of the lesser pentagram each morning in my living room here. This is where we have our public channeling meditations. As far as when I'm not in this living room, I just send love and light to everything and everyone around me. When I go outside, I send love and light to all. And I have not had any problems in years with any kind of psychic readings or psychic attacks.
And you feel as if you were to stop, that there may be an opening, or do you think that
there could be, but I'm not going to stop to see if it's true.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
And now you have Annika.
Hello, good morning. So wonderful to see you all. Wonderful to see you, Jim.
Good to hear you.
Oh yeah,
You're
I guess
hiding
I'm the
behind your
only
image
seer here. Yeah. I'm moving around a lot at this time, and I don't want to give you all motion sickness. So, but I'll just do a quick hello, running around
Good
my
to see
kitchen.
you. What does your shirt say?
Wearing my LL Research themed shirt today.
Right.
So I just wanted to ask a question about sort of the topic at hand, the moving into the new earth and everything like that. And the question I wanted to ask was about groups and group work, because as you had mentioned, working in groups is very important and effective at lightening the energies on this planet. And I see us moving into the future, humanity feeling the inclination to, while doing the inner work, coming together in groups, seeing that more can be achieved if we work together. And inherently, there seems to be, when we first come together in groups, and as we work through things in groups, different conflicts can arise, differences in perspective, opinion, and things like that. And so I was just wondering, given that you have such a long history of working in a group, doing light work, if you have any insight or advice for those seeking to work in groups, to work in this manner, and how to handle things like differences in perspective, opinion, and those things that naturally arise.
Well, over the years, we've found that groups are a way of helping each other to deal with whatever difficulties we may be having in our personal lives and occasionally with each other. So we need to remind each other that if there is a difficulty, we need to sit down and talk about it. Carla had a saying, never let a problem see the light of dawn. Work it out before you go to bed, or it will get worse and worse. So whenever a problem is perceived, then look at it, talk about it, work it out. Groups can help each other because they're as many people as you've got in a group, you have all those different ways of looking at how help can be given. And those of us who work together can help each other to do the work of resolving difficulties within our personal lives, within each other. And then the work that we do in the world around us is more effective because we have unified our consciousness and our hearts and brought them together to focus as lights for the Creator to shine upon all those around us in the world.
Thank you. That was beautiful. I love that.
Well, thank you for
I
your
just
question.
have one follow-up question to that. And I was wondering if, in your experience, if or when you have encountered when beings have very different perspectives on how to view something or how to approach a certain topic, and it would seem perhaps on the superficial level or initially that these perspectives are not compatible. How does a group move forward in that regard when that situation arises? Or how have you handled that?
In some cases, here at LNL Research, we had attempted to form a group back in 2003, and there were 5 or 6 people in the group. And we worked on the process that I discussed with you previously. And for some reason, there were a couple of people in the group that just didn't feel like the solutions we'd come up with were valid for them. And so they left the group. And eventually the group dissolved. And so, just because we were in the raw contact didn't mean we were going to have a group all the time that worked together. But these days, I believe we have groups that come here, just like this group here that I'm talking to, that form for our public channeling meditations. And we have the round robin to start off with to share what's been happening to us in our life that's most meaningful. And a lot of times it's painful. People are sharing things that have had a really big impact in a way that has damaged their image of themselves or their physical health. And so the round robin is some way of sharing that kind of difficulty so other people can hear it. Sometimes it's healing just to be heard, to know what's happening in another person's life and to hear what's happening, and them to hear what's happening in yours. So basically, that's the way we do it today. Although none of the groups we have are, they're not always here. It's just at the public channeling meditation. So it's a little easier that way. If we had to live with everyone every day, we would probably have to work a lot harder to stay together and to work through our difficulties. But it can be done. Don and Carl and I, we were just 3 people, but it was the harmony between the 3 of us that supported the raw contact.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. It's a lot for me to chew on.
I hope I don't give you indigestion.
No. Thank you. Wonderful to see you.
Look forward to seeing you all next month.
Thanks, Annika. Well, is there one final question or are we complete?
Well, I can always ask one. In session 55, which we're on now, there's a quote from Ra. Things come not to those positively oriented, but through such beings. Things come not to those positively oriented, but through such beings. That is a little mysterious to me. Can you enlighten me on what is your understanding of that quote?
Well, I would say that the things that they're talking about would be the blessings in life, the food for growth that we can all use, and we can share it with others if we let it come through us. If we hold on to it, then that's kind of a negative way of sharing the love and the light of the Creator. We need to let it come through us and be beacons of light, like a lighthouse on the shore to show the ships of the groups around us the way to get to where they're going. So that the positive energies need to come through us so we can share them with others in service to others and not hold on to them in service to self.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Because when I'm praying or asking beings for help, I think my impulse is to say, "Oh, I hope this thing will come to me. I hope this will happen," and this won't happen.
It will, but it will also be better if it goes through you. You will also get the benefit of it. If you try to keep the benefit of it, you might shut off the flow.
Interesting. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
We got one more.
All right, Evan, we're close to the end of our time, so if you're able to keep it short.
Sure. We'll just be really brief. But again, thank you so much, Jim. And I don't know where that money question came. It just popped up. But I just wanted to beautifully thank you for sharing that eulogy for Carla. I was tearing up and crying again being here. And it just reminded me of what I find so relatable about for me to Carla was like her sense of humor and like how funny she was in so many ways too, and the precociousness. And I had opened up my book of the supplemental material right now, and the little part where she was talking about her love of like bargain hunting and shopping and wearing clothes. And she has this thing about how she talked about I kept my well, she didn't buy clothes for a year. However, I cheated. Then I brought things for Mama, and she bought things for me. I kept the letter of the promise anyway, and like that is just so lovely. And my question for you is just: are there any like pieces of her humor or things that resonate for you, or that bubble up for you in the years that have passed?
Well, I guess the most important thing is what she called me. She didn't call me Jim because her first husband was named Jim, and her younger brother, older of the two younger brothers, was Jim. So she called me Mick. And when she wanted to be especially loving, she called me Mickle. And that is something I will always remember.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for that question.
My pleasure.
Well, I feel to end with just a little anecdote, which is Aaron had been studying the raw contact for years and had wanted people to study it with him. But it didn't really pique my interest at the time. But then Carla came to him, I think in a dream, and sparked, like he was like, okay, I think it's time to start the study group. And then we learned that she had just died. So it was like, oh my gosh, she really did visit him just after she died. And so that kicked off our Asheville Law of One study group. And then our very first group in person, you came and visited. And I just wanted to share how connected I think Aaron and I both feel to you and to Carla. And it's such an honor.
Yeah, I remember that group, that visit. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Carla has been contacting people all over the planet ever since she left her body. I hear from so many people how they've been affected positively by her inspiration, her love. And it's a blessing to know that it's not a surprise either, that she's still working very hard for helping planet Earth and its population to make the fourth density.
Wow. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Carla. And I'm curious if you might be interested in and willing to end us with a prayer.
Okay. Creator of all that there is, living inside of each of us, could you make yourself more available to us in whatever way we are living our life at this time, to remind us that you are everywhere, that we can see you everywhere, especially to see ourselves as you, so we can share your love and light with everyone and everything around us, to help you get to know yourself better, to help us to know ourselves better, and to move forward into our reunification with you in each moment of our day in some way, eventually through the octave of experience, complete reunification from you and with you, and then begin it all again. In Jesus' name I pray. Thank you. Amen.
Amen.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Jim.
My pleasure. It's good to see you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And, I love you all, and I hope to see a number of you here at our future public channeling meditations and at our homecoming in Terrapin Hill in central Kentucky, or in Seattle, or in Philadelphia, or in Prague, or in Berlin. You know, take your choice.
Colorado.
Oh yeah, Colorado, the meditation retreat. I almost forgot that.
Yeah.
West is.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a great honor, and we thank you, and especially that prayer. You gave me a more to think about. It's all food for growth.
Yes, indeed.
That's a recurring theme of this discussion. So thanks everyone for attending. We meet the first and third Sundays of every month, and we're on session 55. And come join us. Until then, have a wonderful day and next 2 weeks.
Blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love you all. Hope to see you all
you.
again in the near future.
All right. Thanks.